Namaste and welcome to another show of Meet the Author. Today we have a very uh, special author who at one point wrote regular columns on the same subject with Organiser also. So the viewers and readers of Organiser must be aware of his passion and his work. We have with us uh, Sandeep Singh. Sandeep ji is a Mumbai based, basically a management expert. He has been working on the Indian views, models, and methods of management for a long time. Associated with IIM Kashipur as a chairman. He is also Chancellor's nominee at the University of Mumbai. And now he has come with two volumes, which are in a way continuation of his passion about Indian ways of management. And that is to do with temple economics, or rather Arthavyavstha of temples. Viewers, many people believe, and many documentary evidences are there, that temples in India, the Hindu, Buddhist, Jain, whichever, various sects and the traditions that originated in this land, never saw the places of worships merely as places of worships. They were much more than that. And to discuss about this project and the book and the the difficulties that he found, we have with us Sandeep Singh. So Sandeep ji, thank you very much for coming over and speaking to Organiser. So let us start. I remember way back in 2014-15 you were talking about Indian entrepreneurs, then Swadeshi models of economics. Now suddenly shifted to temples. Why means, what was the reason? What was the thought process behind this project?
So first of all, thank you, Prafulla, for giving me a chance. And I started writing when you became the editor of Organiser, and again on this show also. So thank you. It's wonderful. Uh, so why from Indian management or Indian way of management to temple? Because our economy revolves around temples. Uh, and how important is temple economy? I'll give you a small case study which I have mentioned in the book. So the first city of modern economy is known as Detroit, where the cars started getting manufactured. And if you look today, Detroit is 25% of what it was actually. And if you type Rust Belt of USA, it's Detroit and suburb areas, which used to supply ancillary part. It was very simple that car was become cheaper to manufacture in Japan, Philippines, India, South Korea. They died. And if you go to any, just search on the internet, the ghost towns in Europe, in Russia, in China, all industrial. And the logic is very simple. The better product or a cheaper product or a replacement has come, which is getting manufactured somewhere else, this place is gone. Uh, but look at some of the oldest living civilization. I'll explain living civilization also. Living cities in the world. Top 5, Pushkar, Ujjain, Rameshwaram, Patliputra, Kashi. It's called older than history. They don't have any industry. So how do they survive? So what do they have? They have temples. So obviously there is an economy is an important part without which you can't survive. So then if you explore, so your question will be, so Sandeep, what's a temple product? So let me give an example. So let's think of any sari. Kanjivaram, Banarsi, Sambalpuri, Dhakeshwari, they all come from Mandirs, temple town. And it's just not that they come from temple town.
And the skill set, communities, goddesses, all these things are interconnected, and so is the the sustainability dimension, the environmental
Correct.
aspects.
So the design that you see in a sari, the fool patti, the flower petals, in a Banarsi will be what is offered to goddess Parvati. Uh, and if you see the what we call motif, the fall part of the sari, they have the shikhars of different mandirs. So if they come from south, it will have a Dravidian style. Then they will have from Nagar style. If they come from Bengal, they'll have their own style. So it's like it's a spiritual product. Sari is not so simple. It represents our dharma, and Portuguese understood it. And you will be surprised when Portuguese ruled for 200 years, wearing and weaving of sari was banned because they thought sari is the biggest after Brahmins, the second biggest what you call the wall to convert people is sari. So they put a ban on wearing and weaving. But the sari survived in Goa. Now that talks about the sacrifices our ancestors made. So for 200 years, the weavers actually weaved the sari in the basement, and women used to wear sari only in the night. And for 200 years, imagine 8 to 10 generation, and sari survived. And cut to 21st century, Mother Teresa's sari, that white sari with blue border, has been patented by missionaries of charities. So that is how powerful the product which comes from Mandir city or temple towns are. And this is just one example. If you go in the book, there are a lot more.
What was the triggering point?
For
There
me,
must be something which triggered you to get into this the temple economics
okay.
part.
So this happened actually. I had written in my second book, Indian Ocean Strategy, 1.5 page. So people used to ask, "Us pe likho, kabhi bolo." But during COVID, two things happened. When the lockdown happened, suddenly Tamil Nadu government said Mandir should deposit so many of crores to government exchequer. No central government said there is shortage of money. None of the state government said, and many Hindus also joined the chorus. And it's very common कि मंदिर में पैसा क्यों चाहिए क्या है. So I said this is the right time to answer. And the second thing was that when people started walking, they walked from Bombay to Gorakhpur, places in Bihar, and all across India they walked. People, how can you think of walking 1500 kilometers? So apart from being physical fitness, the other issue, मैं रुकूंगा कहाँ? Where will I stay? Where will I get my food from? And these guys didn't walk alone. Wife, kids, aged parents, and some of them took actually their pets also, cows and dogs also. And they 99.99% reached safely. Few died in road accident. Otherwise, no untoward incident. So where did they get that confidence they will walk? Because we have been walking traditionally Sabrimala, Amarnath, Vaishno Devi, Ganga Sagar, whole of India. So we have that habit.
This yatra parampara got a totally different kind of fillip during the COVID period, because I remember in Delhi also there was a sudden announcement by Delhi government, and there was a sudden rush on Anand Vihar terminals, and after reaching there they suddenly realized that there are no buses.
Yeah.
So they started walking, and Uttar Pradesh government did a very smart thing. Uttar Pradesh government gave a cap, every day these many people can walk in. Only condition is they should have their, some proof where they are going, their village. And villages, they requested that, they should have some quarantine facility. 7 days they should stay there simply. Food, clothing, everything will be provided then. But in between, what happened?
Correct. So where did they get their food?
Not just temples, but temples, associated the societies, the adjacent societies also pitched in. Because that time I was living on the Noida side of Delhi, and suddenly one society said, no, we will take care of 600 people on daily basis. So, that was very, very shocking. And it was a fascinating story that they were not at all dependent on state.
Yeah.
That state will do something, but
so and that faith, unlike other people, they'll go into destroying things if you don't give. Even in Europe, you see, start breaking things, burning things. It was nothing. They're so confident that we can walk. There is a society which will take care. And the mandirs came out and they offered food, shelter, whatever the best. And it happened all across India. So these are the two important reasons I said I must get into it. And I also must admit that I had that arrogance that, lockdown 6 months, 1 year, it will be there and I'll finish the book. It took me 3.5 years and I realized that I can never finish writing. Actually, one mandir is so big, one lifetime is less to cover all the facets.
But you have... I always had this, curiosity to look at temples beyond the places of worships. For the larger Hindu society, temples were much beyond places of worship. So, as a management person, how do you see this? You know, at one point, temples used to take care, and it is almost still the British established their entire education system from 1830s to 1850s. Uh, uh, Temples were associated with education, temples were associated with healthcare, temples were associated with the manufacturing industry. Most of the social structures also were defined by the temples. So, from management point of view, how do you see this? How could they manage? Because generally now the equation is, oh, there is a temple, there is a church, there is a mosque. There, so the equivalence is in terms of the places of worships. So when you look at it as the Arthavyavstha, you are talking about the entire economic system. So how do you see it from the management point of view? How they used to manage it?
There are many fascinating question and many aspects to it. So let me first tell you, there is a big difference between church, mosque, synagogue, and temple. So church is a place where Christians go for worship, Muslims go to mosque to worship, Jews will go to synagogue for worship. Temple, the Oxford, the dictionary definition is that place of worship for pagans, the civilization which doesn't exist anymore mostly, the Mayan or the Egyptian. So people get confused. So the people in Egypt stay today, but they don't know how to build the pyramids. Our Bradeshwar Mandir is older than pyramid. We know how to build it. So this is a sign of living civilization, that knowledge has passed from generation to generation to us. Now in our Mandir, it's not only a place of worship. We get when we get the statue, and then we do the pran pratishtha, it becomes a murti. So we invite the god to stay. So our Mandir is a place of, it's a house of the Bhagwan. So that way it's different. So
Abode of the deity.
yeah, so that's why I call it Mandir, and we shouldn't call it temple. It's very different. Uh, just look at the management aspect. I'll give you three examples. So one is that the structure. So the town planning. So the people who stayed, who needed maximum service to offer service to their mandir, they stayed the closest. Then the people. So we had so they were called Brahmins. Then our Utsav Murti was taken out every day in the evening, at least in every mandir. So you need people who had more strength to carry the Murti. So they were obviously warriors, they became Kshatriyas. Unfortunately, it gets divided. It was based on the caste, which is not true. Because the first person who also stayed there was the person who used to wake up the god every day in the morning. They still do, with a different instrument and song every temple. He was not traditionally what we call as a Brahman, but he stayed closest to the mandir.
The various instruments, even the deity has a specified instruments, and each according to the deity, the instrument makers and the instrument players. Both.
So it was
And then there was a community who was maintaining in terms of cleanliness, in terms of everything.
Yeah. So it was a whole concept of just in time, what we talk in modern management. Now, second, let me talk to you. The GDP as a concept is new. The word was coined in 1930. And the reason, because West didn't have money. So there was nothing to measure. Uh, we had money, but we never got into measuring it the way they did. Our business model is something very different. We don't write only labh or profit. It is Shubh labh. So it has to be an auspicious profit. So it's bounded in Dharma, Arth, Karma, Trivarga. That's where it's come in the Mandir. GDP doesn't have any restriction. For them, a war is very happy scenario, because after destruction, construction will happen, more steel, everything. Demand will increase. If you fall sick, it's good for them. But the most horrifying thing, which I've quoted from IMF report, they are worried that some countries are not doing exact reporting of prostitution's contribution to GDP. So if that is way for GDP, everything is good. Even for, I'm sure they might move to include drugs also, for that matter. If it helps the economy grow, why not? It should be. That cannot happen with us. It's a Shubh Labh, and we are not into ranking.
That's how this entire concept of, the golden crescent and what is ultimately that? It is basically the network of drug cartels. What is the Colombian drug network? So it's
we never went into that direction, and we also never had the system of becoming the number one or number two in economy, measuring the wealth. So our business models have been very different, which comes from Mandir somewhere. And the third aspect is also equally interesting is that I don't recall the place, somewhere in Greenfield, the world over, they have collected the seeds and put it in the ice below the ground at a frozen temperature. Because again, if there is a pralay or something, so they can get the, even Indian government preserves the seeds in somewhere in Leh. But just look at it, the cabbage, the cauliflower, the tomato, the potato are not Indian vegetables. But and similar case with many fruits. But if you go to market today, you won't get Indian guava. You get those huge ones, the tasteless ones. Dragon fruit has overtaken. Our fruits are disappearing. Only those, but these vegetables, what I just named, cabbage, cauliflower, tomato, are not part of prasad at Jagannath Puri or at Mathura. And that is the only reason our vegetables have survived. And not only that, there was a time when India had lakhs of varieties of rice. Lot of grain revolution killed. I'm not getting into debate that was right or wrong. There was a reason for it. But only those in Odisha, Swaminathan Labs research report I have quoted, only those rice have survived which are being offered to Bhagwan Jagannath. And they offer every day new variety of rice. So actually you look, if government had to preserve, you have to create Indian Council of Agriculture Research, go and create a lab in Leh to preserve it. In the other hand, every mandir has preserved the flora fauna around it. So that's beautiful part of management. Just create a mandir and it's preserving it from thousands of years. So whichever way you look, economy and the management, mandir is there.
Here in your first volume, you have the you have talked about the destruction part of temples also. Uh, uh, though we have a tradition of calling it the Islamist, I simply don't like to call it Islamist because initial invasions were mostly coming from the Arab side via Central Asia and present Afghanistan, but rest of the aggressions came mainly from Turkey or Turkmenistan or Afghanistan or even Mongols for that matter didn't directly come from Mongolia. They came via Central Asia. Yes. And that time there was no Arab Islam very prevalent there. It was more small tribes
Correct.
getting. But still the fact is the destruction took place. What was the reason that despite this series of aggressions right from Greek to British, these temple traditions, most of them survived, and where the temple traditions survived, the Hindu civilization also survived. How do you find this correlation? How could they manage to manage this resilience and resistance against this onslaught?
Okay. So our ancestors have sacrificed a lot, and the mandirs, to preserve every mandir, people have come all across India to save it. Let me give you example of Kashi, how it survived. So Kashi has been protected by Maharaja Ranjit Singh. He gave the gold. King of Nepal gave sometime money. Sometime it was renovated with the money from kings of Bengal. The Peshwas did, Marathas did. Uh, Ahilyabai Holkar is all over India, wherever she could reach, she did. Uh, but I'll give you a unique two examples. So when Aurangzeb almost killed everybody, all the Brahmins in Kashi, so there was a worry, and he said to rest of the people that either you convert or pay jizya. Now there was a worry that people will not convert and they will leave Kashi. So then the Kashi is gone. So Hosla king from Karnataka actually paid the jizya for the Hindus living in Kashi to Aurangzeb. And it's not talked about it. Uh, Brahmins from Maharashtra and Andhra went and settled there because all the Brahmins had disappeared. And at this same time, the kings, and for the so-called Dravidians talk about it. So many Kashi we hear in Tamil Nadu, Tenna Kashi, Shiv Kashi. So the kings, they have frantically built different Kashis. They said if that is destroyed, there will be hundreds of Kashis in Tamil Nadu. You can't destroy Kashi.
And you have, that is why in Kashi you have the Tamil speaking Tola, you have Marathi speaking, you have Bengali speaking,
Yes.
Odia speaking. So you find these many,
Yeah,
that's why,
people
because
think. So people came from all over India to preserve it. And this was the case with all the mandirs. And they kept fighting till they were alive. Even single person was alive. We have seen the pujaris sacrifice, Today, people might accuse them, but because they haven't studied the history. Pujaris in Puri fought against the Britishers, and 52 of them were hanged by the tree in front of the temple, and their body was left hanging for months. So the sacrifice of pujaris are humongous. So our ancestors kept fighting in whichever way they could. We have seen most of the people left their place where they used to stay, so that the forest will take over and the mandirs will be preserved. And many such mandirs we see have preserved because of that today. So, and other part, they kept rebuilding. They never gave. Kashi is one example, but even in Multan, they kept rebuilding, and in Sindh, they kept fighting for the main mandir for 400-500 years. They kept fighting. Even when they were not in power, they could build those mandirs back. It's just that we haven't documented or not much talked about or taught about. So they never gave away. They never gave up for their mandir. And actually, we can see today there's a Hindu living in Afghanistan. So that is the resilience, and we can see it even today.
No, but when it comes to Arthashastra or Arthavyavstha, means common wisdom or the perspective that we have developed, especially with the post-British understanding of India, that ultimately the economy part or the wealth creation part was limited to the Vaishya community. What was their role, do you see, in this entire temple centric economy?
No, so every community's role was there. Like Angus Madison study, now everybody knows about that. We contributed 35% of world GDP. If we would have been agriculture nation, we could not have been shipping agriculture products to Europe or Africa 3 months, 6 months, 1 year in the ship. Not possible. So obviously we had the products, textile, artisans. So here I'll come that how great our understanding of metallurgy was. So the lost wax technology with which the Nataraj Murti that we see at Bharat Mandapam or at the CERN laboratory in Switzerland, that is made out of lost wax technology, and that's only 4,500 years old. And there are two lessons in that. Actually, we still make, so again a sign of living civilization. Our ancestors knew metallurgy, and the Nataraj represents the destruction and creation of cosmos. So they had an understanding and how evolved the art was, that cosmos, creation, destruction could be presented through a murti. So we had a great artisans. So they were actually the rich people, because that's what they would be selling.
Right.
Because, so
the
whatever.
the idea of Vaishya was not only just the traders.
Yeah. But the artisan community,
yes.
and the guy who suffered maximum by destruction of Mandir is this artisan community, which we today can be called as the lower class, the caste system they call. But they were the richest people who suffered the most. All the traditions were taken away.
So now each community had a role to play. Temples were the centers of all the social activities and the activities of wealth creation. How did the European, especially the British advent, impacted our temple economy?
Oh, British were the smartest guy. So when they landed in Chennai, they realized that they have to shift the capital from Madurai if they want to control. So they wanted to build Chennai as a capital. They kept attempting, they did not succeed. Then they realized that, and it's again documented, that if you build mandir, people will come to stay. So they called the big businessmen and asked them to build mandirs, and that's how Chennai was settled. So that is, their understanding of mandir is humongous. They did not touch Tirupati because they extracted money out of it. Puri, they used them to overthrow the Marathas. When the pujaris realized, they later protested, and as I said, 52 of them were hanged. So they were the smartest guy. They used the mandirs to extract money, to control the power.
No, but what was the legal instrument to do that?
So there the fault happened at our end. The pujaris went, they fought among themselves, and many of them went to the court, British. So it's like two cats fighting and going to the monkey, solve. And that is where the problem is. And they got into the temples. Because you have come to us, now we start controlling it. So we actually invited them to get into the mandirs.
No, but before 1860s, there was not this, nonsense of registering the
Yeah.
temple
So
trust, so
once,
government appointing
so number of people going to the British to solve the issue of Mandir increased. They had to come out with a law. What else you do? If it become
so and of course there was a huge temple properties also involved.
yes, so that helped them take over. And actually, I blame, if you go around, the Indians have to be blamed more. I have quoted two reports. There was a Raya Bahadur from Lucknow. The name is given in the book. So they made a condition ki who are the guys who can lead Kedar Mutt, revamp and all. And they lay down a condition, the person must be earning 1,000 rupees those days, must know English, but knowledge of Sanskrit was not needed. So our people, actually, I blame more that we got the British and told them that, and the greed was there कि मंदिर में पैसा है. Uh, so, uh, but actually, when a society's fall happen, every component of society fails.
Yeah.
So every part of
No,
the society failed.
again, I'm
So,
curious.
what happened that there are different ways. So, like I'll tell you, Tarakeshwar Mandir had a Mathadis, which is in Bengal. He was from a place from Bihar, and he was a corrupt guy. So, huge uprising happened. Subhash Chandra Bose and Chittaranjan Das led the movement. But after that, they said it is in Bengal, so let's have a Bengali Mathadis. But that doesn't work. Now it deteriorated so much that that Hakim became the board president of that area. So our mandir have always a cross connection. The Kedarnath has pujaris from Kerala and so on and so forth. In the south, what happened after independence? Congress took control of it, and then the Dravidian parties realized that how important it is to control mandirs to win election.
I'll come to the post-independent part
Okay.
later. But during the British part, I still want to understand how did they find the ways to divert this wealth in the temples? Because as we discussed earlier, temples were not just places of worship. Of course, people were contributing there. But besides that, there was an education system associated with, healthcare system associated with, even banking system associated with. So one, how did they destroy this? And two, how did they find ways to divert that money? Because even in the legal framework, it was not very easy those days to simply take away the that we see post-independent period more.
Correct.
But how did the British manage to do that?
So one was taxation. So you'll hear this narrative, all the so-called liberal seculars quoting that it was the Britishers who removed the taxation system from Puri. So there was a taxation system when you entered the Puri Mandir. They actually took it back. When you entered the city, you paid the tax. The moment you got down from the river, you paid the tax. And if you didn't pay, you were not allowed to enter. And they had a clear-cut understanding that people coming from which part, there were 3 or 4 entrance to Puri, have how much money. So accordingly, they took money. So basically, whatever money the tourist, the Tirth Yatri had, everything was taken there only. So nothing reached the mandir. The same taxation happened in Gaya. They tried doing it in Kumbh also. They did not succeed. So for different mandirs, they had different tactics. So in Tirupati, they said, you give us so much of mandir, we will not attack. So actually, they met the king or whoever was there, officially take the money. The Hindu took the money out of the mandir and gave it to the British because they had to save the mandir. So for different mandirs, they had the different tactics.
Now let us come to the difficult part, the post-independent part. As you have argued in your book also that in fact in the post-independent period it has become the worst.
Yeah.
So how did it happen? Why it didn't go up to the churches and mosques were saved from this? Why only temples? Was it just a continuation of British policy or was this something more than that? So what exactly happened?
So when British made the policy to control temples or Hindu mandirs, they had a policy to control church and mosque also. Both the group vehemently protested. Hindus, lot of them supported. So that was one of the reasons they did not, and post-independence government didn't have guts to do it, or appeasement, whatever you call. The second, the major change that happened post-independence, you will be shocked that government said that earlier the kingdoms used to take care of the mandir, so now it is government's job. But they did a fine change. They said in the law that the deity is minor. Now the deity becomes the minor, hence the government has to protect the deity. While in our system it was different. We know Padmanabha Das, he donated the whole kingdom and he ruled as his dasa. And that is true across the country. When Jagannath Mandir was formed,
The king is a dasa and not the protector.
And when the mandir was built, the king again gave it to the Rajya, to the mandir, to the Bhagwan there, and he ruled on his behalf. Different dynasties came, but they all followed that tradition. And that is what you see when Rath Yatra starts. That is the reason king comes and uses the broom to clean the road. And that is true in every part. It happens in Banaras, all over India. The kings always rule on behalf of the deity, and not the. Uh, but after independence, the government become bigger than the Bhagwan, and भगवान को उन्होंने minor बना दिया, and so they have to take care of it. So that is one major change that we need to get in the law, that the Bhagwan he can't be minor. And then our people that they kept fighting, they went to the court, so government did not have the choice but to form a law. And so that's how.
Now the another big challenge that I see when a lot of debates take around, that save the temple, liberate the temple, give back the temples to the Hindus. Now there are two critical issues. Uh, uh, Giving back means to whom? One. Two, when it comes to because now in legal terms it becomes a civil property. Whatever the faith we have and the traditional understanding we have. In present legal system, and most of them, the endowment acts are basically the state acts.
Central government doesn't have much
Doesn't
role.
have any
Correct.
much role to play.
We unnecessarily actually abuse the central government.
So Rajasthan has a totally different understanding. Vaishno Devi is a totally different model. It means entire north,
Yeah.
because the temple system and temple ecosystem was virtually wiped out due to the various forms of Islamic invasions and destructions. Then you have some model like say Shirdi, which are relatively a new structure, but there still society has a role to play, but government has appointed the nominee.
Yeah.
Then you still have existing traditional places like Jyotirlingas, where still the traditions are surviving, but government, some form of intervention or appointments are there to divert money. And then you have HRC kind of model in the in
Yes.
Tamil Nadu. I believe Andhra Pradesh or earlier United Andhra Pradesh tried to come up with some codified law to have some kind of understanding. But ultimately, how are we going to address these two critical issues?
Okay, so you might call it a radical view. I have a very simple 4-point answer. One, the mandirs, this government is only 75-year-old. Mandirs are 1,000 years old. So who managed it for 925 years when all the attacks were happening from all kind of invaders. So society. The argument sometimes people say that if government leaves, who will manage? But this is what British said: if we leave, who will manage the India? They will kill each other. So my argument is very simple: you just leave the Mandir, society will take care. I've given example. We talked about Tarakeshwar. I've given example in the book of a Mandir in Jharkhand, where the society took over it. They threw out the trustees there since they were corrupt. So government should just leave it, and I think today Hindu society is capable enough. I'll give you another example. Ki we generally think at the mandirs ki kya hoga because they have big money and big temples, but there are many mandirs still in the jungles where nobody goes. You will find one sadhu or sannyasi who has been sent by the respective akhada, who gets up at 3 in the bhor among the animals he worships, and a lot of people have been writing now they're visiting, we are scared in the daytime with all security, but that guy is managing the temple. So why we are not bothered who is managing those mandirs? So there is a society, there is somebody, there is a akhada parampara is there. So people will come, and every mandir will be perfect always, doesn't happen. There will be some will have a problems. So but that is true for all government department. Are they perfect? All is everything perfect in all IT, IM, all the Institute of Excellence? No. So those mandirs will have some issues because that's life. Everything is never perfect. So the first is that we shouldn't. The mandirs have survived at least 925 years before this 75-year-old government was there. The mandirs in the jungle who are surviving.
The problem is not just 75 years. The problem is what happened almost 100 or 150 years before that, where you yourself said that there were certain disputes and there were certain people who approached the courts and that allowed government to intervene. Now the fear is, and especially because many of the temples, earlier it used to be more of a collective responsibility. Now the fear is whether it will go to a particular community or caste, or a particular group,
Yeah.
because ultimately there will be, the sense of democracy that we have developed. Oh, the trust is elected or not, then the elections will take place, then the groupism. So there again somewhere courts will have to intervene, the government will have to intervene. So
No, so
that fear is there.
so I write that now we have learned a lesson, hard lesson. So we need to. So I've done a very drastic comparison in this book. So Devdasis and Tawaiffs, when they were banned, they went to the court. The court did not listen to them. The arguments were very good. I've quoted at length. Then they decided that we'll never go to court as a community for any justice. Until date, they don't go. So that is the oath pujaris will have to take, that we are smart enough, intelligent enough, and which they are. The akhadas have intelligent people. They can manage it. They don't need to go to the court for this. We have to. The mosques don't go to the court to fight. Churches have their fight. Some of them have gone in Kerala, but others don't. Mosques have a huge fight, but they never go to the court. So that is self-restriction we need to draw among ourselves. And again, I think if the mandir will not be well managed, people will stop going. There are many tirth sthans we remember, 50 years, 100 years, 200. People don't go there because at some point of time there was a mismanagement. If the mismanagement is there, the aura will be lost. Because the mandir's gravity comes from the pujari. And if you go to mandir, you will see the youngest guy does the puja. The senior guy sits in his room and does the prayer. And that is what builds the energy there. So if they will not do it, those mandirs will lose their charm. And the new mandirs will come. And it keeps happening, always.
Sandeep ji, but these are very, very radical. But somebody has to educate this. Somebody has to propagate this. At societal level and at intellectual level, you need to build some kind of sensitization around this.
Yeah.
That these are the issues. These are the issues we can handle. These are the issues we have handled for. I just don't call it for 1,000 years. Maybe for more than so
However
many
old you think your mandirs are.
so antiquity, millenniums, you have the measurement, and we have the reference of temples. So that itself is a process. As you have been now associated with the management IIM like institution also, and with the university also. Where do you see which are the stakeholders who have a role to play in taking this message forward, so that the society gets sensitized instead of expecting? Means I many times feel that expecting on everything, expecting something from the government as Mai Baap Sarkar itself is an Indian view.
Correct. Very true.
So what is the way forward to for this sensitization? And
so in the second book, which is A Decade for Mandirs, I have kept. So what I have argued here is the solutions. And the last chapter that I write is, if you are really interested for the revival of Mandir, give next 10 years to Mandir. It doesn't matter you are rich or poor, male, female, 10 years or 80 years old. If you are really committed, just give 10 years. And the least you can do in that 10 years is just that decide I'll visit the Mandir every day. We Hindus don't even do that. So once you start visiting the Mandir every day, I'm sure this situation will be taken care of. Because if you start visiting every day somewhere, you'll develop the affinity, You'll feel the Bhagwans, and you will feel that what is going on in Mandir. It could be सबसे पहले दिन की शायद 3 महीने के बाद आप सोचेंगे कि हम चप्पल ही सीधा रखवा दें सबका. चौथे दिन सोचेंगे कि जो फूल पत्ते ही साफ कराने का करें. आप रोज आते हैं, people will listen to you also, So just going every day for next 10 years, every day once to Mandir, if even 20-30% of Hindus start doing it, most of the problems will be taken care of. We don't need, humongous, huge solutions. It's just that this is what our ancestors did. We wouldn't have our food morning or evening till we have finished. The bell is rung that the God has eaten and is going to sleep. Revolve around. Same thing. It's not very complicated. We have unnecessarily made it complicated, which modern education does, making everything.
Because we tend to see the things from the British prism. So.
Yeah.
But what are the other solutions because you have listed n number of.
So one is that very important. I think two things I need to mention. One is that we have started talking of religious tourism, which is very different than Tirth Yatra. So I see post, the 2 crore people came to Kashi, they did not go to Goa. The same people cribbing, people have started drinking, posing in different form. But actually, the guy who's going to Goa has come to Kashi, his mindset, you know. The other is that the guy will take a flight in the evening. Uh, let's say he lands at Kashiji. Now people are doing at Ayodhya. There's a five-star hotel, so he'll have a drink in the evening. And in the morning, he pays a VIP darshan fee, does the darshan, takes a flight back. I mean, Bombay, Delhi, or Bangalore, wherever has come. Actually, you have not gone for bhakti, you have gone for social media posts. You have done clicking posts. I've been there. And the danger is that after 5 visits, you will say, I go every year, but there is no impact on me. But actually, you haven't done the Tirth Yatra. Na? So, Tirth Yatra is something when you stand in the queue, you look at the people who have come from around the world, you talk to them, you understand bhakti from each one's perspective. Nowadays, we have Ramayana Mahabharata serial. Otherwise, those Chitrakari, the carving in the Mandir, told you the story. There are a lot of interpretations which unfortunately we start learning from leftists like Devdas Patnaik. Rather than you stand in the evening, do the satsang with the Pandit or Pujari, he'll explain you why this concept is there. And then you come back, then you have earned the bhakti. I'm not against five-star hotels in dharmic places, but like see, if a five-star hotel is in Goa beach, he won't have a carpet because when you walk back, you will carry the sand, it will destroy. So you adopt to the local culture. So instead of a pub, you should have a satsang in the evening. Na? Most of them have yoga instructor. So you should get a pujari who does the satsang. So be operate, but you adopt it. And I don't blame five-star hotels. We Hindus will have to ask, this is how it needs to be adopted. So that is one part of it. Second important thing is that we need to get away with this VIP darshan concept of 50, 100, 200 rupees, VIP is someone like Maharaja Ranjit Singh, he say, I'll cover the whole with the gold. Then you are a VIP. Or the VIP should be the mother or the mother and the father who have got 3 or 4 kids. Now people have one kid, you have saved the money and you have not contributed anything to Dharma practically, and you become a VIP because you have saved the money. There is a mother who has gone through the pain of giving birth to 4 kids. There is a father who has taken the responsibility, I'll bring up 4 Hindus, good Hindus, So actually they should be the VIP for us. If you have a 3, 4, 5 kid, you go have a darshan first. And rest you have made enough money, so stand in the queue one day what goes. So we need to bring some drastic changes. You might sound radical today, but that's how change starts.
No, but taking this in society, this thought process, education, educational institutions, even social organizations, small activity-based thing, they have a huge role to play.
Yeah. So I guess this is what I've said. At least the book talk about it so that the book reaches. There will be others who will write on it. It's not that I have all the wisdom. More ideas will come. And somewhere it will culminate, and each mandir will pick up each area what suits them. There is no one size fits all. For every mandir, we have a different Agama Shastra and Sthal Puran. So they'll adopt what suits them. And some of the other thing is that we need to make, what I say, this VIP darshan on the similar line is that connect devotees to the mandir. The mandir should be given back to the devotee. Remove the entrance fee. They should be allowed to have functions, birthday functions. We have all those things. If they go outside, and then obviously they get distracted. We should have a place if somebody wants to study. They don't have, mandir should be the place. Now, I give example. I've been born and brought up in Rourkela. There was a Gayatri Mandir. The Mishra sir who started a coaching for RECs much before this quota and all this thing happened. And it used to have 200 to 300 students morning, evening studying in Gayatri Mandir. And most of them cracked. And he was much bigger than quota, that one-man army. Until then, he was there. Gayatri Mandir was filled with students. And today, there are many CEOs, MDs who owe to their coaching at Gayatri Mandir. So that is how we relate to your place of worship.
Can't they just come and speak to, maybe organizer or somebody and just speak?
This person passed away.
No. The CEOs that you are talking about, their...
I'm on the journey to connect them.
Great. So I hope, to have a, next volume early. But if you want to tell maybe the 3 simple things that, one you already told that, for 10 years you should visit a temple close by whatever your residence is. But 3 things you want to tell to the organizer viewers that, they should do for temples without expecting anything from either government or any other legal authority. What simple things that they can do?
So one, call it mandir or kovil or devale, not temple. because you've got the nomenclature right, everything falls in place. The second, go for Tirth Yatra, not religious tourism. Very important. Third, as you rightly said, visit the Mandir every day at least once. These are the three things, the most important thing. And the fourth, buy what you have to offer at the Mandir from the people who have bhakti. It's a chemical process. This is normally what we say, कि if you cook the food with not interest, it doesn't taste good. Similarly, if you buy the product, the offerings that you offer in the Mandir from someone who is not a believer, then your offering will have a issue. It will not be accepted 100%. So those are the 3-4 small nuances. If we start taking care, if every Hindu does it, the bigger issues will fall in place. They are a basic jigsaw puzzle. This first 4 things fall in place, rest will fall in place on its own.
Thank you,
Thank you
Sandeep ji,
so much.
for such a fascinating. So, viewers, these are the 2 volumes, अर्थव्यवस्था of मंदिर और मंदिरों के लिए दस्तक, मंदिरों के लिए एक दशक. So, a decade for Mandirs and Arthavyavstha of Mandirs. So, forget about the temple part of it. It is the Mandir Arthavyavastha that we should fight for. And this Vyavastha is nothing to do with just GDP and the profit and the economy part of it, but very soul of Bharat, because our life revolved around Mandirs. So I hope this wonderful effort for more than 5 years. He is saying 3.5, but I'm much before that. So you would get hold of the books, try to spread the message, and make Mandirs part and parcel. They have been part and parcel for most of the uneducated masses. Still, they are part and parcel of their lives. But reviving that, the thought process, recontextualize it. We need not be, going back to the older traditions, but learning from them and recontextualizing them for the present needs. So I hope, this episode of Meet the Author would start new curiosity about Mandirs and their impact on our Bharat's social, cultural, and economic life. Thank you for watching Organiser. Keep watching Organiser YouTube channel. Keep sharing with your beloved ones, friends, family members, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Thank you very much. Namaste, Sandeep. Dhanyawad.
Thank you.